Hey everybody, welcome to a Friday edition of Box Seats. It's that time where we discuss all the things sports. My name is Frank Holder. That is Talent. That is Fig. And you know what we always do? We always discuss sports and what happened the night before and things like that. But, something jumped off first thing this morning. We definitely got to talk about the NBA playoffs. We got to talk about the NFL games. We have to talk about all those different things. But something jumped off this morning to me that I think, is being played really under the radar. And I want to say this. The Ohio State cornerback named Shane Ward, he announced that he's opting back in to play this week. Now, here's the story. He opted out Monday, and he opted out back in this morning. Now, the funny thing about that is college players can do that. Pro sports players cannot. Does it seem to you guys that I'll start with Fig first. Fig, does it seem to you that money has something to do with that? Because the first thing that crossed my mind was, why would a cornerback, especially of his caliber, who looks like he has the opportunity to go first or second round in the NFL, why would he opt back in when he's already safe by opting out? I mean, to me, it just reeks of money and a lot of things backdoors. But I don't want to put words in your mouth. That's just what I'm thinking. What do you think, Fig?
Listen, man, this is the United States of America, KKK. And the one thing that you got to understand about this country is cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money, dollar bill, y'all. Somebody put some money on his books. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? Somebody gave that boy some extra lunch tickets. Now, I don't know how much it was. I don't know whether it was in the form of a house for his mama, a brand new refrigerator for his grandmother. Maybe it was a washer and dryer. Maybe somebody got a brand new car. Come on down. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right. Somebody got a car out of this deal and a new residence. Get in there and get that money, boy. Let them pay you for your talent.
Talent, what you think?
I mean, it's so obvious. First of all, I didn't know you could opt out and back in. Right. So I just learned something. But yeah, it's very obvious that you don't make a big decision like that. That's a big decision. You don't make a huge decision like that and then turn around that fast before the ink can dry and go, you know what? No, I think I'm gonna go. That's not a regular reason. Right. It's some O's and dots and O's and commas in that reason. Trust with that. I agree.
Right. It seems strange to both of you too, right? Because I mean, how you going to opt out on Monday and today's Friday you opt back in? That sounds super shady to me, like super shady. And no one's talking about it. It came right. You know what I mean? Like, okay, yeah, and that just shows you the power of money in sports. But
well, either that or somebody or his agent told him, listen, man, your best case scenario is round 7.
No, I don't think that had nothing to do with it. I think a lot of it had to do with money. I think a lot of it had to do with money. I think money was like, but anyway, we're detracting. We got to talk about the NBA playoffs. And before I even jump into that, Giannis won his second MVP. Now, I want to talk about the Miami Celtics, but the first thing that stuck out to me was when Giannis got crowned the MVP crown this morning. Honestly, I didn't think he deserved his for the way he played towards the end of the season, because most MVPs, they are, lights out from beginning of the season to the end of the season. Talent, do you think he deserves MVP this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. He is the one standalone guy. If you look at all the teams, it's the most valuable player in the league to their team. If you look at every team, everybody else you would even think about wanting to give it to, they don't have the same impact to their team as Giannis would be. Perfect example is, let's look at Kawhi. Argumentatively the best player in the game, right? Kawhi leaves one team that got a championship, go to another team. The team he left still contends. They still go kind of far into the playoffs. You take Giannis off that team, the Bucks do not make the playoffs.
Good point. Fig, do you think Giannis deserves an MVP this year?
Absolutely, man. The buck stops right there at Adetokounmpo's house. That's where the buck stops. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So listen, put it to you this way. They had the best regular season record, not in the East, in the NBA. Giannis arguably stands alone as the superstar on his team. He don't have an Anthony Davis. He don't have a Paul George. He don't have another superstar standing next to him to help him get to that point. I mean, we got to give Chris Middleton, a little light and stuff like that. He did make the All-Star team, but who's really talking about Chris Middleton like he's a superstar or he's this, he's like, you know what I mean? He's not an Anthony Davis, LeBron James type level player. He may be a B type player, so he's not on the A level. And then here's the thing. Giannis is leading in all the stats on his team and everybody else's team as far as scoring, blocking, you know what I mean? And he plays defense.
Okay. All right.
He's the MVP of the regular season.
Okay. Now it's time to move on. We have to talk about the game that happened last night. Last night, the Celtics played Miami. They were up by 17 points. Then all of a sudden, in the second half, they got hit with a 2-3 zone for about 27, 26, maybe 25 times in a row. A 2-3 zone, not only did it stop them in their tracks, it shut them down. It turned the game from 17 down to the Heat ended up obviously winning the game. Then after the game, the Celtics seemed to be imploding in the game. I don't want to say they were imploding because one or two things could happen here. But a lot of Celtics players were arguing after the game. Marcus Smart got into it with Jaylen Brown. A couple of other players got into it and everything else. Talent. Does this galvanize the team and get them together? Because as we know, we saw the Clippers series. The Clippers started arguing after the series amongst themselves and everything else. And word came out a little bit they were arguing during the season. But does this galvanize the Celtics and get them all together? Or does the team implode because both times they were winning both games? Or does it, Celtics go in the opposite direction? What do you think?
Well, coming from a guy who played basketball his whole life, this is a 50-50 coin toss. Mm-hmm. These things do happen all the time in basketball because basketball is a very competitive and at times super intense sport, right? Mm-hmm. However, the problem with this coin is we have to wait now to the next game, game 3, to see if it lands on heads or if it lands on tails because this can implode a team, like you said, and then it can rile a team up. So we don't know, as again, like we were just talking about, we don't know what's going to happen with Kawhi after this big letdown. Is it going to make him better? That's where we are with this situation as well. Is this blow up, this internal blow up, going to make them respond better, or is everybody going to say F it and just start looking at their individual contracts and what they got left on the books and the ones that can leave, where I'm going next and all that? So honest to God, only people that know is that team when they step back on the floor. Because right now they could be saying to themselves, no, I'm good, I'm over it. You could say I'm good, I'm over it all you want. But internally, emotionally, are you really over it?
Right. Great.
Are you going to be out there passing the ball the exact same way, attacking, defending the exact same way? Or are you going to look at him with the other person sometime and go, let him do that?
Great.
They would have a problem.
Now, let's table this conversation because I want to bring in our next guest, our guest for the day. We got to bring in Mr. Keith Bulluck. Of course, he was an 11-year seasoned vet for the NFL. He played a lot of years for the Titans and 1 year for the Giants. Keith, thank you for joining the show, man. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate coming through.
Hey, show some respect. That's a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, I'm trying to tell you. This is
All pro.
That's all pro, 3-time Pro Bowler. Show some respect. Hype his intro up, B.
It's all good, big bro. We know what it is.
Hey, Keith, thank you. I really appreciate you joining the show. I couldn't wait to get you on the show for one particular reason, because I know when it comes to defense, your name is synonymous with defense. So I have to ask you, after watching the first week of the NFL, right, which defense that you saw, because I know you watched a couple of games, which defense that you saw impressed you the most and which team?
I just go to one player, man. That kid Chase, what's the young man out of Ohio State for the Washington Redskins, defensive end? Chase Young, I believe his name is. That kid, the sky's the limit for him. And I say that because obviously the Washington football team, I don't know, whatever the name is, they did a good job coming back against Philly. But what impressed me most was this kid out of Ohio State that was the best player in football last year. And for him to get out there against grown men and really just kind of, impose his will, just being raw. Like, that's his first NFL game. That was really impressive. The Titans played well. I feel like the Titans played well. They held it down. they got to win. That was a defensive game. Without having any preseason games, a lot of these teams are going to be a little raw. Obviously the game plans are not going to be as crisp. You're going to see a lot of injuries. You see a lot of injuries going on just because of not having the time to get out there. And it's one thing to practice against your own team, but those preseason games, even if it's 1, 2, or 3, it means some difference. Knock the rust off. So what you saw was pretty much a high class, really very well produced preseason football, which was week 1 of the NFL.
Right. Talent, you got a question for him?
Oh, absolutely, man. I was, I follow Keith. Me and Keith go back off the field, on the field, and just for the record, I used to, whoop his ass in basketball.
I knew it was coming up, bro. I knew it was coming up. I just about that this morning. I just gonna bring that up.
No, but I just want to ask, like, okay, so watching the first week of football, let's go to your last team, man. You did come back home to New York, play for the Giants. Should we be worried what we see for week 1 from the Giants, or should we give them a minute to kind of get their legs under them, so to speak? What do you think?
I think that's one of the teams you should just give a chance to get their legs under them. I think a lot of these young NFL teams, Daniel Brown, he's only been there for a year. Saquon, like these teams are young, and I think they played all right. You know what I mean? I liked how they moved the ball on offense. They did some things on defense, but like I said, this is still the preseason, especially for those young teams. Like you see a team like Kansas City come out hitting on all cylinders. You know what I'm saying? They just went to the Super Bowl. A team like the Titans played well because they were just in the AFC Championship game. You see your different teams that played well down the stretch and went to the playoffs last year. They came out and they looked like more, I don't want to say mid-season form, but everybody was on the same page where there are going to be some things that are going to go wrong with like the Giants, the Redskins, some of these younger teams. I don't think the Dallas Cowboys should have any excuse because of, the seasoned vets that they have, with Zeke. You have Amari Cooper. You have Dak Prescott. You know what I mean? So those type of teams, they should be further ahead than a New York Giants football team.
Right. Fig, you got a question for him?
Yeah, man. Listen, we always talking about in the NBA. Well, first off, I'm happy that you represent New York.
I'm
not
a Knicks
Knicks,
fan.
but definitely Giants.
I'm a Knicks fan.
You know how we do in New York. Once you part of a New York organization, it's always New York, baby. So
trust me, bro. I'm a Mets fan too. So
we always talking about how the NBA changed and how it to us from another generation it seems softer. So what I want to ask is, what do you feel about today's NFL? Because I'm sure when you played, you was back in the day when hitting was legal. It seemed like they took hitting out of the game of the NFL. And I'm just like, what do you think about the pass game as opposed to now where you can hardly touch the quarterback. You can't even touch the quarterback's ankles. Like, what do you think about hitting nowadays? Like, what is going on with my NFL?
Well, that's a great question. And if I'm 43, so back in the day, me growing up watching football, before I go play my Pee Wee games, I'm watching NFL Crunch Course. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you call hitting. The Ronnie Lotts, the Chuck Cecils, the Night Train Lanes of the day. And even in my day that I played from 2000 to 2010. The rules changed about 2009-ish. But I think the horse collar came into play in about 2009. That was like the biggest rule change that I had when I was playing, because when I was playing, we were still trying to put people to sleep. And straight up, like, get down and lay down. That was our motto in the secondary. Get down and lay down. You lay down, you stay down. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
But right now, it's funny. Rashad Evans, number 54 for the Titans, he's a very physical player. And I asked him, what does he think about when he goes to make a tackle? And that was a trick question, because back in the day, you're not thinking. The only bad tackle was a missed tackle. So you're going full speed, you leaving your body, head, shoulder, you throwing up in there. Where now these kids have to make a concentrated effort to actually tackle and bring somebody down. I go back to 3 years ago, with the Minnesota Vikings and the New Orleans Saints in the Superdome, where the rookie corner didn't make the tackle on the wide receiver, and that cost the Saints going to the Super Bowl. Mind you, that kid was a year removed from college where they have those targeting rules. So he's in a position, for the NFC Championship where he doesn't finish the play. He doesn't make the correct football play because there's too much thinking in today's game for the defensive player, and it puts them at a disadvantage. I understand protecting the offensive player, the defensive player, but it's football. Like you were saying and alluded to, when I played in the 2000s and when I was watching in the 80s and the 90s, there wasn't no such thing. Cats was getting their head take off. Like you coming with, I used to put forearm pads in my forearm when I was playing because I'm coming across your head when you're going down. So yeah.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense what you just said about how we understand that we want to protect it, but at the same time, that puts the defensive player at a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that takes a step out of it, so to speak. But I got a question for you, Keith. So I know you're family man now. You're living it up and everything. Are you getting away from the game, or do I see a coach Keith coming, or an analyst Keith, or you know what I mean? What's in the plans?
Well, right now, actually, man, I just did this. I've been on my business tip for a while. I've always stayed close. I have a show down here, Titan Sports Talk with Mr. Monday Night. That's me. So I stay close to the game. Right now, I just opened a coffee cafe. I invested in this coffee business out here in Tennessee. It gives back to adoption and foster care. I was a foster kid from 12 to 18. So throughout my journey playing ball, I always tried to get back in that space. But I definitely would, man, like to, once I clear this hurdle of this coffee venture and some of these other ventures I got business-wise, I'd like to give a test, at the NFL though, man. I ain't doing all that, high school and all that. That's a waste of my time, man. Hey, they need to fast track me, man. I got too much knowledge to be wasted. Hey, do me like Steve Nash. NBA be looking out. NBA be looking out. NFL be hiring all these old recycled farts to do the same terrible job, man. They be bugging.
Old recycled farts.
Yeah, he's right. He's right.
Hey, Keith. Our time is winding down. I just want to ask you before we let you go, who you see coming out of the AFC, who you see coming out of the NFC, and who's going to take the Super Bowl before we bring in our next guest.
AFC, it's going to be hard to beat the Chiefs. Somebody has to convince me that they can really knock the Chiefs off and tame them and put them in their place. And AFC, I'm going to pick a wild card, man. I like the Buffalo Bills. I really like the Buffalo Bills. I like what they got going on. They got Stephon Diggs. Kelly, nice quarterback. They play defense up there. And if they get home field advantage, bro, don't nobody want to go to Buffalo in December or January. So,
Lord.
I like the Bills. They got there last year. They got to the playoffs last year. So I think they're building on something.
Well, Keith, thank you for taking out the time, and thank you for joining the show. Tell everybody out there how they can follow you, bro.
Hey, man, you can find me on Twitter. It's KBull53, and on Instagram, it's Keith Bulluck53. That's simple.
Thanks for taking the time to keep me.
Appreciate you coming in, man.
Appreciate you.
You
gotta come back.
Thanks, bro.
Appreciate you. You already know.
All right, y'all. That was Keith Bulluck. Y'all have to know that he was 11-year NFL veteran. Talked a lot about defense because he knows when it comes to defense, he knows defense. But since we talking about the NFL and since we talk about the NBA too, we got to bring in our second guest, Mr. Otis Livingston. He's also he's a sportscaster. CBS. Did I get that right? Did I get that right?
Yeah, you got it right.
Hey man, he played for the Jayhawks.
Okay.
Yes.
Your info's everywhere, man. That's why I was like, okay, I want to make sure I get this right, man. So
yeah, it's all good.
First of all, thank you for joining the show. I really, really appreciate you. First topic I got for you, man, is because you're a sportscaster, and because being a sportscaster, you go behind the scenes a lot. And you're in locker rooms and you hear a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that the normal people don't do, stuff that you can't report. But I'm going to ask you this. What happened last night after the Celtics and Miami Heat game, right? The players are arguing in the locker room. In your experience, That's key phrase. In your experience, does that galvanize a team, gets them together, or do teams normally fall apart?
Ooh, that's a good question, man. I would say it galvanizes them more. If you heard all of the comments afterwards, I don't think that it was just team speak. I think they really meant what they said about Marcus Smart. They know that he's a fiery competitor, and that's why he's one of the best defenders in the league. That's why he's where he is in the NBA. So, they know that he's fiery. They're down 0-2 to a team that they feel like they're better than, that they should be up 2-0. So some of those emotions are going to come out. Now I heard he and Jason Tatum had to be separated. There was a confrontation, all kind of stuff. That part, that's a little iffy. But in the end, those guys are going to squash it, and they're going to go out and they're going to play harder together. Marcus Smart has now stepped out and said some things. Now he's got to back it up on the court. He's got to do his part. I mean, I think he said, y'all on some BS,
Right.
Marcus, this next game, you better not be on no BS.
Right.
Since you called everybody else out.
Right. Hey, Cal, you got a question for him?
Oh, yeah, man. First of all, brother, thank you. You know how you say to a military veteran, thank you for your service. Thank you for your service to New York sports, brother. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
It's a pleasure to cut the TV on when I got it, especially I'm a road dog. So when I come off that road and got to catch up on my information, you're doing 120% great job out there. Thank you very much. Now, let's go to, I want to talk to you about, because you have college basketball history, with this college sports thing going in the middle of this pandemic, right? One of our first arguments when we came on the air with Box Seats is, should they play, shouldn't they play? Now, we just got, the news in that, some cats went to the tournament, how hard it's going to be to get drafted with or without the tournament. What was your thoughts when we first got into this pandemic, which is, we still got a lot of question marks of what this thing is. Should we let our kids go back and play, or are we doing the right thing of trying to protect them and keep them because we don't know?
Yeah,
or just think about our audience.
I think the first part is getting the scientific information to figure out what's going to make everybody safe. I don't think it's possible to have a bubble environment for college athletes. They're going to be going out to parties. They're going to be going to classes and stuff like that. If they're interacting with other students, that kind of stuff. Whereas, the athletes are going to get tested on the regular, but the general population is not. So you got to be careful about that. And I think I have a kind of a unique experience as well, because I have a son that's playing Division II college basketball right now. And they're remote right now. And I'm all for that. First of all, I love him at home, so I can keep an eye on that. You know what I mean? I was just under the, okay, are we going to have the best information to make the best decision? There's a lot of coaches out there that they want to play because it's their profession. Are they going to put people in jeopardy? Yeah, most likely. But we want, especially as a father of an athlete right now going through this stuff, I want the best information possible. I want the best safety precautions to be taken. I see that college basketball is going to start, I think, November 25th. And they're going to have some tournaments like the Maui Classic is going to be, I think, in Asheville, North Carolina. So that type of situation, hopefully they are all kind of that bubble experience. Maybe they can have that kind of thing, which we have seen is so successful in the NBA, except for Lou Will going out and getting the lemon pepper chicken. But and then Daniel House, although that was in the bubble with the situation with Daniel House. But hopefully we just take care of the kids, because they're the amateur athletes. They're not getting nothing for this, as far as monetary. And yes, they will be able to enhance their pro ability for some of them. And this is their platform to do that. I've advised my son to opt out this year, to go to stay, remote learning or whatever, but not play this season, especially because it's going to be a truncated season. So it's not even going to be the full 30-something games plus, nationals and all that kind of stuff. So, and then he can also further his education as well,
So you're a good father. That's a good father.
Hey, man, I'm trying to be, man. I just want my kids to be
too.
healthy.
At the same time, me too. But see, Lou Williams, the thing about Lou Williams and the chicken wings, he rolled past 50 chicken wing spots to get him from the strip club.
It was like that car was on autopilot. You know, like it just went past everything else and went where he knows.
He rolled past Wings R Us 50 times to go to the strip club.
Yo, your name is on a item on the menu. Come on, man. What does that tell you? You've been there more than once.
Yes, sir.
Phil, you got a question for him?
Yeah, man. Listen, first off, I want to commend you on taking that stance with your son, man, because you know, I agree with you 100%. What it doesn't seem feasible to have the athletes on a college campus where they're going to be safe, but they're intermingling with the rest of the campus.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense because the rest of the campus don't have access to the same tests as the athletes. It just seems like a mess. But one of the things I want to talk about, going back to the NBA, it seems like the Celtics sort of kind of had the same infighting, or they seem like they're not 100% all in as the Clippers. And we see what happened to the Clippers when they went up against Denver. My thought process is, did the Clippers lose it or did Denver actually beat them?
I'm gonna go with the Clippers. I mean, the Nuggets actually beat them. Did you see the way they were playing? No. Give me a little. Okay, so I think the Clippers might have underestimated them.
Yeah.
But man, once a team starts to get hot, so let's say the first game, okay, it's 3-1.
I agree.
You blow that lead the first time, right? You lose the game.
Yeah.
Then the next game, you start slipping away. Now you get tight. It's getting ready to happen again, because as humans, we're going to think that way right off the top. Most people. Now, some mentally tough guys going to be like, no, not this time. But to me, the way I look at the Clippers, I saw a lot of individuals, not a team.
Right.
The Nuggets were a team. They didn't care who got the buckets, except for Michael Porter Jr., who stepped out there and said, I need more touches. As a rookie, basically, I need more touches. But for the most part, they didn't care who got off. They wanted to get those wins. You know what I mean? That's a hungry team. Whereas the Clippers seemed to be a team that felt like it was owed to them, that it was going to come to them. So once that onslaught starts, man, it's hard to stop that, that boulder from rolling downhill. And Jokic was doing his thing. Jamal Murray started doing his thing again. I mean, it was crazy. Gary Harris. I mean, they started having these guys really play with confidence. And don't forget, after they beat Utah,
yes,
after the Clippers won their series, it was already preordained by everybody, LA versus LA.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So if you're the Denver Nuggets, well, hold up. We ain't even played the series yet.
Right.
So you're going to tell me it's going to be that when I got a shot. So that's the way they played with that chip on the shoulder.
That's what I was going to say to you. As a sportscaster, newscaster, this goes back to the thing they always tell you. Don't read your own press clippings.
True.
Because for them to even be in that state of mind, you had to be reading the press the whole season.
Yeah.
Because the press, like you said, everybody gave it to them. Oh, Clippers versus Lakers. Oh, Kawhi, blah, blah, blah. So that means you're reading it and believing it.
Yeah, exactly. And it showed on the court. But the thing that really struck me, like I wasn't shocked by Paul George's performance. I just, I like him, but I don't love him. Kawhi, that kind of shocked me a little bit. His game was, he's going to take a lot of hits for this. And up until this point, he has not taken a lot of the same LeBron type criticism. Think about it.
Right. Speaking of LeBron, I just want to ask, to me, since the Clippers lost, people automatically gave LeBron a direct path to the championship. Do you see them overlooking Denver too?
No, because they see what just happened. And LeBron is the veteran leader on that team. Who's the veteran leader on the Clippers? Is it Kawhi because of what he's done? He ain't saying nothing. Right. Bro, he is not a vocal leader like that.
Right.
He's not the one that's going to say, yo, man, we need to tighten this stuff up in practice. We can't go in here like this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? LeBron is that way. I think AD is hungry because there's a lot of guys, well, those two in particular, that have legacy on the line. LeBron trying to win a third finals MVP with a third organization to become the first person to ever do that. Now,
Wow, yeah.
He's not the GOAT, but you can start talking about GOAT type stuff. You know, now AD leaves the Pelicans, however he got there, to LA. His legacy, you know, they forced to trade and all that stuff. You know, LeBron and Rich Paul and all that. But listen, no matter how he got there, he's there. There's a legacy of big men in LA.
Yes.
That you're trying to step in that line, whether you're trying to or not. You know what I mean? You're in that line. So you got to get chips. LeBron, this is your best chance right now in Los Angeles in your second year there to get a chip and join Magic and join all these names. You know, he's not going to me, I don't think he's going to go down as a great Laker because his career is going to be too short there.
Right.
But if you can win a chip or two or three, I got to talk about you. I'm going to get your jersey, LeBron, because I'm a Laker fan.
Right.
I'm a Laker fan. You said I got my Kobe on today.
Okay.
You know? Yeah, man. Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, so Otis, let me ask you this question, Otis.
Okay.
Now, you're an executive. Well, you're a sports anchor and everything else. You work behind the scenes. Do you think the execs are on a level of behind the scenes are trying to get or want a Lakers versus Celtics championship? You think that does good for obviously what's going on in the bubble? It doesn't look like it's going to happen, but you know, you're behind the scenes. You work for WCBS, I'm sure.
Okay. I think the execs at you know in the NBA would love to see that. I mean, come on, the two winningest organizations, the Lakers have a chance to tie them for the overall record of NBA final championships. 17.
Yes.
We, and I'm gonna say we, because we have won 10 in the last 30 years. They've won 4, I think. To catch, because remember back in the day when there was like only 8 teams, the Celtics was racking up championships left and right.
Yeah.
So they had a head start on us.
Right.
Now we coming back and we have an opportunity. I remember when I was younger, like when I first became a Laker fan, and they had their, oh man, whatever it was, like 13 championships, and we had like 6. You know, I was like, ooh, we ain't never gonna get it. Now all of a sudden, here we are. You know what I mean? With a chance to tie them. That's crazy. Because
by the way, Otis, the guy in the top box is a Boston native.
Frank? Oh, that's all.
Yeah, Frank played for the Celtics, new addition. Rodney Perry tell him every week. Every week, Rodney Perry. Yeah, he wanted to be Ralph. Rodney remind him every week.
Every day.
Sensitivity.
Every day. Every day. Otis, it's every day, but that's all right. You know what? My thing is this. The Celtics are in the playoffs right now. So anybody want to say any other joke, they in the playoffs right now.
Hey, it's right
and
behind
there's only
you.
4 teams there.
We got 2. We coming.
But in our defense, Fig, in our defense as Knicks fans, it is the end of the world, Frank.
Yeah. We can count on that.
Right,
you got to rep what you got to rep, though, man. You know?
That's right. I'm born and raised in Boston, so that's what I'm going to do. But Otis, before we roll you out, I wanted to ask you one last question. Because I know our time is getting up there and everything else. The last question, because you talked a little bit about your son doing the college and everything else. Do you even think the college football season is going to even end? Because we know it's going to start. We know they're going to play. Do you think it's going to end?
Man, you know what? I mean, it's going to end. Whether it's going to end with a championship or not, we don't know.
I mean, virus. Do you think the virus is going to stop it mid?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about it right now because they're talking about a second wave potentially coming, and we're gonna have to go quarantine again. Now you start the season, you get 3-4 games in, then you got to stop for a month or something. I mean, that's just too much right there. I think that hopefully they've done all their research and they are being 100 with it to even get it started. You know what I mean? Because you got to look ahead. It can't, right now. When you see the success of all these other leagues that are playing, you feel like, okay, we can do that too. But you got to look ahead like a month or 2 ahead to see what is going to happen at that time. Because, we're talking about – because there was a time when we were working that I was working from home. So that was like for 5 months. So we're hearing that we may have to go back to doing that. Now, how that will affect sports teams and stuff like that, because now parents are going to start getting involved, to me, and kids that have a future, not just in football, but in life. You know what I mean?
Right.
We don't know the long-term effects of this thing, man.
Right.
So they have to, I hope that they, foreseeing the future or what scientific data is telling them, not being selfish for all those billions of dollars that can be made through this and on the players' backs. So I'm hoping that they've done their research and we kind of know what's coming or got a good feel for it, because once you start it, once you stop it, I don't think it's a restart.
I agree. Yeah. Well, Otis, thank you for taking the time to join the show. Can you
thank you so much.
My pleasure, bro. My pleasure, brothers.
Thank you, baby.
How can we follow you? Do you have a social media and anything we can follow you, stay up on what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter on O Livingston TV.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Facebook, I'm not on Instagram. No, I don't TikTok. But so you can see, no Snapchat. But yeah, those two platforms, and then you can check me out every Monday through Friday, and we do the Jet show on the weekends too. I host I'm a co-host of a Jet show, and what we're doing this year, in previous years we traveled with them and we covered the home games with them, but now because of this, we do Zoom interviews and the post game type stuff. So we're on Jets late night on after the local news at 11:30 on
Go Jets, baby. That's me. Go Jets.
Elvis, thank you for taking out the time. I'm gonna leave you with this and say I could have said a Jet joke, but I left him alone. Remember that, Otis.
Do it. I love him because I'll pass him on.
I could have left. I'm gonna leave it alone. Thank you for taking out the time, bro. I appreciate it.
Brother.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Salute, King.
Guys, y'all, Otis Livingston, WCBS TV, and everything else. You guys know he's a sportscaster. And for those of you who are watching the show who are not in the New York area, he's a sportscaster in the New York area. He hits every day, Monday through Friday, WCBS TV. He talks a lot of sports. But we got to jump back and finish our conversation that we were having. I was getting ready to ask Fig the same thought about the Miami Heat, Boston Celtics conversation, about the stuff that happened after the game. Because as we both know, I first asked Talent what he thought. I ended up asking Otis Livingston what he thought if it galvanized the team. Now, Fig, what are your thoughts? Because you heard from a pro who he says what he says. Talent, he said what he said. What do you say? What do you think?
What I was thinking about before we had our guest on is I'm not really sure. Like we know how the Celtics play on the court. We know they're together and stuff like that, and we know it. We bragged about the fact that at any given time, one of three players, being Marcus Smart, Tatum, could go for 20 plus points and get their own shot. Here's the thing where I didn't think about it with the Celtics. Who's the leader on the team? I don't know who their leader is. Who is the guy other than Brad Stevenson to galvanize the troops and get them together after a blow up in the locker room?
The leprechaun on the floor.
Talent got a brand new haircut. I just noticed it. That's brand new out the box, man. When you got closer to the camera, I heard fresh.
Hey, Big, the leader is the leprechaun on the floor.
Both of you are wrong. The leader is Marcus Smart. Brad Stevens had a conversation. He brought four of those guys in together last night. Word came out this morning. He brought all four of them together. They had to sit down. They had to talk. They hashed it out. They argued some more for about an additional 2 hours, and then they ended up coming back. Now, so like Otis said, because things happen. We all know. Things happen that we don't hear about, that pros do. They're like everybody else. You know what I mean?
Right.
They argue like everybody else. But how a team responds it's different with each particular team. How that team respond. You know what I mean?
Who was the four? Was it Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike? Who was the four that they brought together?
But I agree with Fig though, because even though somebody may say this certain person is our leader, the leader is how the people follow and respond to. This is why you get governments that get overthrown all the time, because somebody's sitting in a chair in a throne, but the people don't follow the person. So they look to overthrow it. I agree with Fig. I think in Boston, there is a split. I think there's a discrepancy of who the hell the leader is. Because you can't say Marcus Smart's our leader, but Jason Tatum is the best player. You can't say Jason Tatum's the best player, but Jaylen Brown's bailing you out of games. They're all over the place. You got 4 or 5 players that are kind of very close in levels of talent. You may call them, like you could be the coach and go, hey, Marcus Smart's going to be our leader. And then you got 8 guys sitting there going.
Well, I'll say for the record, because, I'll say for the record right now, the best player is not always the team leader. You know what I mean? You could go to the football teams, you can go to basketball teams. The best player is not always the leader. It's the person who can gather everybody around and keep them focused through adversity. Who that person is going to be. Not the person who causes adversity, but who the person who can keep them focused. I don't know if it's Marcus Smart. I don't know if it's Marcus Smart. I don't know if it's Kemba Walker. I don't know because I'm not there behind the scenes.
That's my point. That's the guy at the end of the bench with the khakis.
Right. The true person is the only people who can really answer that is the persons who are on the team. Like they could be able to answer that. But we got to move on to the next series.
Wait, let me just say this one thing before you move on. That's the same thing that happened with the Clippers.
Okay, we got to move on. We'll talk about the other series because I got to talk about the NFL before we bring in Stack. Here's the thing. The Lakers are now playing the Nuggets, right? People are now picking sides and say, okay, everybody seems to be overlooking the Nuggets and everything else. How do you think the Nuggets are going to respond? Talent Game 1, coming out. Game 1. How do you think they're going to respond tonight when they face the Lakers? What do we expect?
Very nervous. Very nervous. It's going to be a nervous start.
Who's nervous? The Lakers or the Nuggets?
The Nuggets, of course. The Nuggets, because I heard what Otis said in saying that by watching what they just did, they're not going to take them for granted. I think it's almost impossible not to take them for granted if you're the Lakers, A. And B, talk about reading press clippings. I think it's impossible to be a guy named LeBron James and don't read the press clippings. At this level and stage of his game, in the tenure of his game, it's all impossible. So they're going to come in with the confidence we expect them to come in with. However, the Nuggets are going to come in like the Super Bowl. You ever see teams touch the field in the Super Bowl? No matter how good they've been all season, everybody looks like a fairy the first quarter. Everybody's scared. Everything's soft. Everything nobody want to break nothing. People scared to blow a full bubble from the can. So I expect them to start like that. Now here's the difference maker. Can they get those butterflies out in a quarter or two? If they can get those bubbles out in the first quarter or second quarter, the latest, and we're not talking about a blowout, now we're going to see some basketball be played.
Now, I could agree with some of the things you just said, but I think that Denver is just happy to be there. I don't think they have any pressure on them. I think all the pressure's on the Lakers, and I think Denver's going to play carefree. But we'll see. Fig, what you think?
Yeah, man. I don't know whether Denver's happy just to be there. That struck me like, no. I think what the thing was happening with Denver, if you listen to the post-game interviews, what they're actually saying is
they expect
people, they seem like they got not a chip, but a boulder on their show. They're like, yo, man, people's really overlooking us like we're garbage. And I think they're coming in with something to prove. And that's very scary because those young players, they don't have to deal with it. Like, this is in the bubble again. Those players don't have to deal with the crowds heckling them and stuff like that. And these guys are playing out of their mind. Murray, Harris, Michael Porter Jr. Like these guys are galvanized, man. And I'm telling you, they don't seem scared. They don't seem intimidated. They actually seem to be playing angry. And that's scary.
Right. So, Talent, we got to switch. Conversation before we bring in Stack because Stack's time is about to come up. And we didn't talk about the NFL game last night with the Browns versus the Bengals. But the Browns won last night. Now, my question to you is, Talent, does the OBJ trade, does that conversation now quiet because the Browns won last night, or does that still continue on?
It quiets for at least a week. Because if we turn around in a week and now we go 1-2, depending on here's the problem with Obi, as good as he is, and we can't take any credit away from good players. But what we can do is keep it real with everything else.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with him is he's what I call cancer to establishments. Cancers to sports establishments are people who like to point fingers and place blame. Mm-hmm. He's that guy. So again, in a week from now, they get blown out. I guarantee you, I can bet your house, not my house, I bet your house to the fact that Odell will start pointing the finger and saying it's because of that. It's because of that. He ain't throw the ball. He whack or this. That's the type of guy he was like that on the Giants. He's like that over there. That's why the whole conversation came up in the first place. So if they can continue to win, which is we're asking a lot right now. Mm-hmm. We're asking a lot. Let's say they could string together 3 wins. Mm-hmm. That conversation can get very quiet. But I don't know who they've got coming up in the next game. But if they lose and now it's 1-2, the whispers get a little loud again. Right. I will bet both of y'all houses. I swear.
All right. All right. Thanks for betting my house. Fig, you got 60 seconds. What you think?
Yeah, man, the thing I really believe is pretty much like Talon said. I mean, winning solves all problems. Here's the thing. They who did they played the Bengals? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's not like it's not like they beat the Patriots or somebody that was a quality team. So do you get too high over a win, or do you realize that your opponent, you know what I mean, is pretty much on your level and you squeaked it out by a few points?
Right. I get you. A great point. Now's that time. We got to get ready to bring in Stack because we got to check the facts with Stacks. So
checking the facts with Stack. He's stacking over.
Stack, it's your turn. How you doing, bro? What did we get wrong?
Your mic, Stacks. Your mic.
Your mic.
Oh. Y'all hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, my bad. No, y'all did good. Honestly, there was one mistake. It was with Otis Livingston. Mm-hmm. He said that Jason Tatum and Smart had to get separated. It was actually Jaylen Brown and Smart that had to get separated. Other than that, it was cool. My little take on that, though, is that Marcus Smart is the leader of the team. He's the longest tenured Celtic. He's been there since 2014. He's seen all of them boys come in as rookies, and he has the respect of all the veterans that have been signed onto that team through playing against those guys. So I think that what happened last night was Marcus Smart probably more so coming into that leadership role and really just kind of ruffling some feathers. Because, I saw Kemba try to do it during the Toronto series after we gave up that game 3. No, was it? Yeah, game 3 when they hit the shot in a half a second. And Kemba's like walking around before the game, patting everybody on the chest like, oh, yeah, I'm checking everybody's heartbeat tonight. We went ahead and lost that night. You know what I mean? But it still kind of seemed a little disingenuous. But if you ever watch the Celtics practice footage, it's always Smart, leading the 3-point shootouts at the end of practice. It's always Smart talking smack during the games in the huddles. I think everybody respects his hustle when he's in the game. He elevates everybody's level of play. That's why I think he should start. I know that Gordon Hayward is a star, but I think that having Marcus Smart in the starting lineup definitely sets the tone. I just think that, other talent like Gordon Hayward should be there to kind of finish games. So that's what I think. I think Marcus Smart put his foot down last night, and I think they're going to respond well. He's going to galvanize the troops.
Okay, I got some rapid fire questions I'm going to ask you guys about the NFL. We're going to start with talent. Are the Browns for real this season? I guess not. You want to say anything about it? Any words, or we just go? Should I pass it to Fig? All right, there you go. Fig, the Browns for real this season?
They are who we thought they were.
Stack.
They got to prove it. They got the talent, but they got to learn how to win. So I'm okay with last night.
Okay. Talent. Are the Steelers going to go back to championship form this season?
No, but I stick to what I said earlier, a couple of weeks before they started. I told you the Steelers will always be, unfortunately, in the way. They're always going to be good enough to just be in the way. Some seasons that's that wild card game. Some seasons is second game in the playoff. But I don't think they're championship old time Steelers. But damn it, they will ruffle some feathers and get in the way and mess some things up.
Fake.
I would go ahead and say It depends on what Fatburger eats in between games. You know what I mean? Like in different weeks, I need to know what the Fatburger, which is I just want to let everybody else know. I'm talking about Ben Roethlisberger. I'm calling him the Fatburger. I just want to know what he's going to do because that'll tell us everything about whether the Steelers could win or not. Is he going to enter the U.S. Open and get tennis elbow again?
Okay. What do you think?
The Steelers are cooked as far as I'm concerned. They'll compete, but as long as Roethlisberger is still the quarterback, I think his time is over. They need to revamp. And Baltimore being good and being in the same division as them is pretty much that was like the last straw. They can't sustain that with Roethlisberger. I'm sorry.
Okay, last question. Then we got to wrap things up. Talent. Are the Cowboys in trouble if they lose against the Falcons this week?
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Falcons are in trouble if they don't lose. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a lose-lose situation. Hell to the yeah.
Fig.
Yeah, because I know the Cowboys got a new coach and stuff like that, but they have the pieces where they really are supposed to win against the Falcons. They're supposed to win that game, and if they don't, they're in trouble.
Stack.
I think the Falcons are formidable this season. They got a high-power offense, so I'm not gonna say the Cowboys are in trouble if they lose this game. But if they lose it in a really ugly way, then maybe. But as long as it's a good game and they compete, I don't think they're gonna be in trouble.
Okay. I got 60 seconds left. Let me see if I can squeeze this question in. Aaron Rodgers stay with Green Bay if they don't make the playoffs, Talent?
Nope. He's gone. Guaranteed.
Guaranteed. Okay. Fig.
He's packing up his bags as we speak. His house is up for sale. He is ready to leave.
I guess that answers that. Stack, what you think? Aaron Rodgers?
I think he's gone. He's gone even if they do make the playoffs.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
That's good. That's a great prediction. All right. It's about that time to wrap up the show. We got to thank Otis Livingston. We got to thank Keith Bulluck. I got to thank Roddy. We got to mention Roddy Perry wasn't on the show today. He's traveling. He will be back with us Monday with his I Disagree segment. Got to thank Stat. Got to thank Fig. Got to thank Talent. I got to thank all y'all. Talent. Tell everybody out there how they can follow you.
Hey, all my Twitter fans, come on. I'm at It's Just Comedy. My Instagram family. I'm at Talent the Comedian and Facebook. King Talent Harris. I see y'all. Fig, talk to me.
Hey, man, listen. If y'all looking for me, I usually hang with Talent, so I'll be on his page. And if you can't find me on Talent's page, I'm probably sleeping. And other than that, you can find me a Comedian Fig on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
All right. Check the fact with Stack.
Anywhere you go, at Stackinova, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter.
Okay. All right. Thanks, fellas. We appreciate y'all. Monday. By the time Monday turns around, we should have a definitive conversation about what happens with Miami and the Celtics. Obviously, Boston and the Lakers and the Nuggets. Boston and Miami. And, of course, we're going to talk about the second week of the NFL season. And it should be a surprise. I'm looking forward to that because there's some games I just can't wait to see. We come on every Monday through Friday, 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. That's Talent. That's Big. That's Stack. I'm Frank. We'll see y'all Monday. You're watching the Humor Mill. This is the Box Seats. Take care.
Yay.